research has been a very productive component of USAID's higher education leadership and management initiatives. We've been very excited to work with 25 different universities and polytechnics to develop teams of action researchers devoted to change management in their home institutions and to their own leadership development. Let me explain briefly what is action research. The purpose of action research is to use collaborative research, a team of people from a local institution, to address a problem or issue within that institution. They conduct research on site with their colleagues and stakeholders at the institution to understand the problem and together to come up with solutions to that issue and to attempt to implement those solutions. So it is a form of institutional change management for higher education that is locally based, driven by local people, and using research and data to arrive at optimal solutions.
I think the strategies of action research work very well for Indonesian higher education at this moment. The strategies of collaborative decision-making and teamwork are at the heart of DICTI's reforms and national reforms that are happening in Indonesian higher education. So the fact that action research draws together first a core team of researchers and then a broader team to research and implement solutions has worked very well. I think the fundamental strategy of action research has been the teams that are built strategically to bring together the expertise and the ambitions of a broad group of stakeholders inside and beyond the institutions. One of the most successful strategies that we've seen has been the reach that goes beyond the confines of the administration. Some institutions are working with area companies, and others are working with school systems or villages that have underserved students who would like to attend higher education institutions if only they could find that pathway. So outreach to external collaborators has been an important part, an important strategy of team building. And finally, I think the most successful strategy has been that the teams are linking their individual projects to the core missions and priorities of their institution. So that brings the natural support of leadership, the rectors and the vice rectors and DICTI, who see the ways that action research can contribute to their very lofty ambitions.
Right, and one of the broad strategies that we've used is to start with middle leadership. So that's another general strategy, is for the teams to be comprised of people who are in middle positions, who have the potential to grow into leaders on their campus and with external stakeholders, and to serve as models for their colleagues as well as for their students. Susan spoke to some of the initiatives that go off campus, that go outside of the higher education institutions into the communities. We've also seen initiatives that are focused within the communities, in academic units, to improve the quality of teaching and learning within the University of Polytechnic, to improve opportunities for funding for students, for researchers, and for the interactions that students and their lecturers have with each other.
So the outcomes have shown the success of these strategies. The action research is based fundamentally on identifying a problem in a concrete enough way that progress can be measured and evaluated. And so we spent time in the international workshops in the Philippines helping the researchers not only to view different models within the Philippines, but also to define and narrow the scope of their projects to the point that it could be implemented. And so I think that's been a very important outcome. All of our teams have been able to implement their projects in a final form. The other side of scaling down a pilot project is scaling it back up. In other words, how can it then be generalized and institutionalized and sustained in ways that make sense for the institution. So scaling down to a pilot project and then scaling back up to major change in the way the institution conducts business has been a very important outcome. I think a second outcome that I would point to that is also at the heart of action research is the use of data to make improvements. We've seen that higher education institutions are getting better and better at collecting data, but the next challenge is how to use that data in the most effective ways to invent solutions that make sense for that institution in that context. These solutions can't be imported, and so data has to be used as the foundation for developing solutions.
One of the other outcomes of the action research has been that the teams have been meeting regularly with each other. So they are learning from each other as well, and they are starting to develop networks of expertise and of support to address the core themes of the Higher Education Leadership and Management Initiative. They're addressing issues of quality assurance, of accreditation, of financial issues, working with community development and external stakeholders, working with student success, both to reach out to underserved students and to make sure that those students, once they're at the university and polytechnic, succeed in their studies.
And so building on that success, we're thinking a lot about sustainability for all of these projects. These teams are excited by seeing the progress they can make on a pilot level and the difference that this can make for their students. And so they and we are working together to find paths forward that don't require huge infusions of new resources that are not available, but rather that harness the existing resources to a strategic purpose. So all of our researchers and we are looking forward to the life of the project beyond the 12 or 18 months of HELM coached ARP research. And we trust that these institutions will have lasting improvements by a core team of people who can identify core mission and build on that to improve opportunities for their students.